Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the I Work in Sport live interview. This is the show where we talk to accomplished sport business professionals who come here to share their knowledge, experience, tips, and advice in order to help you succeed in your career. If we're just meeting, my name is João Frigerio. I'm the founder of I Work in Sport. And right from the start, I want to thank you for being here with us today. Is it the first time that you're joining us, joining one of our live interviews, or are you coming back? Let me know in the comments. That's good to know. Also, please let me know where you're watching from. We normally have a very international audience. It's always good to know. And of course, if you're watching the replay, if you're not watching it live, please leave a comment there too. And of course, if you're coming back, if you can already hit that like button there, that would be appreciated. If you're new, if you're coming here for the first time, that don't put the like yet, wait a while, see if you like it. If you do, then that would be very much appreciated as well. Then you can already go and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell sign, so you're informed of our other upcoming interviews. Now, very quickly, if you don't know I Work in Sport, we're a platform to help you accelerate your career in sport. If you already work in sport or if you just want to work in sports, we're there for you either way. We organize events which connect you with recruiters in the industry if you're looking for a job, or maybe if you're looking for a course, if you want to study, then we also connect you with some of the best academic programs in the world. You are watching this either on YouTube or on LinkedIn. In addition to that, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, everywhere at I Work in Sport. Oh, and there's also a community on LinkedIn that, since it's a community, we call it We Work in Sport. Look for us there too. Now, with that out of the way, let me introduce my guest. Today, I'm going to have the pleasure to talk to Andre Zanotta, or Andre Zanotta, as they say where he is at the moment. He's the Chief Soccer Officer at FC Dallas. I first met Andre when he was doing the FIFA Master. That was back in 2009, 2010, I think. And well, I've been following his career closely ever since. Right after graduation, if I'm not wrong, he went already with a director position to work at Atlante Football Club in Cancún, Mexico. And from there, he went back to Brazil. He held the director position at several Brazilian clubs, including powerhouses like my Santos FC and Gremio. He won titles there, including Copa Libertadores, if I'm not wrong. If you're not from South America, that's the South American Champions League. That was just before he moved to Texas in the US as technical director of FC Dallas. So if you want to know what it takes to run a professional football club, you're in the right place. Let me invite Andre to join me right after this. Hello, Andre. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you for being here. See that you are at the office at FC Dallas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, João. We've been connected for a while, but it's great to participate and I follow I Work in Sport, and I know your trajectory and how you started this. So that's really congratulations on where you are with this right now.
Thank you, Andre. It's for us, it's great to have you here because this is a show about career, and you have a great career. I've been following it, super exciting. You're super well regarded back at our country in Brazil. Made a move that is so hard for so many people working in similar positions, which is to go and work in a super professional environment that is the US. So I will actually start asking you to maybe, I give a very quick picture of your career, but maybe you can summarize that for us. Maybe tell us what you studied and how you started working in sport and how you progressed to then. Just before you do that, let me just, there's some people already saying hi here. So there's Denare logged from Zimbabwe. Thank you for being here with us. Otello James in Dakar, Senegal. There's someone who I think you know
Yes,
because
and
he's
I
a
know
bit
I know him
Zanotta.
very well. I know him very
Thank you
well.
for being here with us.
I know
Isabel
this one
Moura,
too.
happy to join from Geneva. Hi, Bel, good to see you. And there's Regina, also, I know she's in Brazil. Thank you for being here with us. Andrea, give us then a summary of your career, please.
Well, John, as well, you mentioned a little bit. So, but before the FIFA Master, which was an important point that we'll mention here for sure. I come from a family of lawyers. One of those lawyers is the one that made a comment. My father, um, my father is a lawyer. My mother was a lawyer. My brother is a lawyer. So I come from a family of lawyers, and one that ended up leading me to do law school. I realized early. I've always been passionate about sports in general, especially football. Or since I'm in the US, I might mention soccer a few times. But that's when I started when I was thinking about working and it started in law school. I wanted already to just direct my career to the sports law side. I worked in different areas of law and in different law firms. But towards the end of the law school, I was already studying and trying to work with sports law, something that I really wanted to combine my passion for sports and with what I was studying at that time. So after graduating, uh, I I I started already. I was working in law firms. I started to have some few cases, but around 2006, I moved to a law firm, one of the biggest law firms in Brazil, Machado Meyer, and I was in São Paulo at that time, and to work exclusively with the sports law, sports and entertainment law. We were dealing with international sports law most of the time, with cases in FIFA, cases at the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and we had clients, mostly clubs, different dimensions, small, big clubs from Brazil. Most of them. We had also the CBF as one of the clients, and and at that time, I working with those clubs, I realized how much it was needed. Someone with the understanding of the market, someone that really had some specialization in the sports industry, especially in football. That obviously that I was dealing with football clubs, and I was pretty much involved in many negotiations for players. Uh, Clubs wouldn't have someone that would speak some other language, so they needed someone that would speak Spanish, would speak English to help them negotiate players with international clubs, and this really uh, made me feel passionate about it. That's that I felt like there was the click that's what I want to do. I want to be more involved with this. I didn't want to be stuck only on the legal side of the sports business and the sports industry.
Yeah,
So I decided to apply for the FIFA Master. And
right.
that's exactly when you said it was late 2008. So I was accepted at the FIFA Master. I was in the 10th edition in 2009, 2010. Was amazing experience to be, uh, as you know very well, to be living in different countries, to be living with people from so many different places, and dealing with high level classes, high level teachers, uh, and 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 learning so much from that. And just my idea was, the initial idea was, I wanted this career shift, and I want to have a more broader vision of the industry. And in the master, I met I met Miguel Cuchonal,
Yeah.
who was that time working in Atlante FC. So the FIFA Master, I really wanted to put a club in my CV, so that I knew with my background in law would not be easy to immediately turn and start working in the management side of football clubs.
Yeah.
So with Miguel and Atlante, it was at that time they had recently won the Conca Champions. That's, for the people that are not familiar with it, it's the Champions League of the of North America,
Yeah.
in 2008. So they played the FIFA Club World Cup in 2009, lost to Barcelona in the semifinal. And so we started during the master, while we didn't have the classes, we were discussing some projects for Atlante, especially myself and Alex Inglot, with Miguel.
Yeah.
Alex from England, Miguel from Mexico. So that's for people that don't know the FIFA Master. That's how you can. That's how fantastic it is. So
That's very international. Yeah.
yeah. So, and then towards the end of the master, Miguel invited me and Alex to join him in Atlante and try to Atlante. Lucky me, was based in Cancun at that time. Now it's not anymore. So we moved to Cancun, and the experience of being in Mexico, and understanding the Mexican league was amazing.
So did you really go to work? Or was that mostly a vacation?
It felt like in the beginning, but obviously we were there to work, and the club was not based in the zona hotelera, like they call it, the hotel zone, and that they have, uh, and and so the experience there was amazing. It was very important for me to have this first experience in a club. The club is not didn't have, so we were doing a little bit of different things in different areas. So that was very good to get a more bigger perspective of what it is to work in a football club, in a market that I didn't know that well. But there's
Yeah.
a lot of similarities with Brazil, with how passionate the Mexicans are with football, how much they love it, and there are differences. Obviously, the way the clubs in Mexico, they have owners different in most of the Brazilian clubs case.
Yeah.
And after one season in Mexico, that was the last season Atlante made to the playoffs, La Liguilla, 2010-11 as the season. We lost to Cruz Azul in quarterfinals. We had that coach that finished the season with us was Miguel Herrera, who after that season he went to America, and after America he went to the national team. He was the coach of Mexico in the World Cup in 2014. I went back to Brazil, started working in traffic sports. Traffic, at that time, they owned Estoril in Portugal, Desportivo Brazil, and a club, the development club in Brazil that is now was sold to the Chinese group, and Estoril was sold to an American group. So they know, and another business in sport that traffic had, but most of my job was involved with the clubs. And after and one of the directors of Santos, sorry, Traffic Sports, he left to Santos and started working as the sporting director in Santos, and he invited me to be his assistant at Santos FC. So I went to Santos in 2012. It was June 2012, while Neymar was still there, Ganso and Felipe Anderson and so many others, great football players that Santos had, and then
Good times, good times.
good times. And so I went to work for Santos. It, amazing, a whole different dimension of club to what obviously what I was living in Mexico. Uh, and after
Maybe a bit more pressure.
a lot more, a lot more. But it was good. I was 32 at the time, and having that experience. And when I got there, the coach was Muricy Ramalho, which is an amazing coach, very successful in Brazil. Working with him was a lot of learning. And after approximately 1 year or a little bit less, I don't remember exactly the date, but when I got there, when I arrived, the sporting director left the club, the guy that took me there, Felipe, uh, and and I stayed for a brief period as an interim coach. The president at that time, he had some health issues that he had to leave, Luis Alvaro,
Yeah.
and the vice president who became the president in chief at that time, Odilio, he asked me to stay as the as the sporting director. So I was 33, and just taking over one of the most powerful clubs in Brazil, one of the most successful, which an amazing with an amazing
The best
history.
ever. We can say that, but go on.
and so I stayed in Santos. And you know well, João, and maybe others won't understand very well, but the Brazilians that are watching us, they will. How it is, I say I one of the main things for me, I survived 3 changes of president in Santos, and that's
Wow.
very difficult.
Yeah.
So I went from Luis Alvaro to Odilio, and in the end of 2014, there would be an elections. There were 5 candidates, and the opposing party of that group that was in charge at that moment won. Modesto Roma won the elections, became the new president, and that's natural when you're working in Brazil when there's such a big change in who's in charge. They usually they bring new people, they especially for key positions. And I was ready to. I thought, and
Yeah, it's very, very political.
Modesto invited me to stay, so I stayed for another 6 months. We won the Paulista, the State Cup, in 2015. We made a very big change in the roster at that time. We brought Robinho had come in 2014, but then we brought Vanderlei, Ricardo Oliveira, Elano came back, and then in 2015, Vitor Ferraz. There were so many new players uh, that we could. We changed the roster. We won the State Cup, and I thought it would be a good moment for me. It was already 3 years in Santos, and I wanted to experience something different. So I left the club. A few months later, I had an offer from Sport Recife, club in the northeast of Brazil, different dimension as Santos, but also amazing experience. For me, it was great to live in Recife. I love Recife.
You like the beach. Santos,
Yeah,
Cancún,
exactly.
Recife.
Yeah. Dallas, unfortunately, that's not happening right now.
Yeah.
And then I stayed 1 season in Sport Recife. The team also by the end of the season qualified for the Copa Sudamericana.
Yeah.
We had the top scorer in the league that came, this Diego Souza, who's now in Gremio. And then I stayed 1 year in Sport Recife. There was elections as well in the end of 2016. That's when I was there. And in 2017, I got an offer from Gremio. So I moved to Porto Alegre. No beach, no beach in Porto Alegre, but it was 2 amazing years in Gremio. We won the Copa Libertadores, as you mentioned, in 2017. We played the FIFA Club World Cup, which is such an unbelievable experience. We lost to Real Madrid. We beat Pachuca in the semifinal, and we played Real Madrid in the final. We lost 1-0. Cristiano Ronaldo scored the only goal at that time, that game against us. a free kick, and anyway, and we won the Recopa. And the following year, we won the State Cup, the Gaúcho, in 2018. After 10 years, the Gremio had won the State Cup. So it was 2 very successful years. I really loved working in Gremio. Have many friends there, and then towards the end of 2018, someone that I met while working in traffic sports, they had an office in Miami, and one of the directors, Luis Musi, that was the director of the company here in the US. He, in 2014 or 15, he moved to FC Dallas, and we were negotiating one player. The FC Dallas wanted to sign Brisson, a center back that we had in Gremio at that time. After concluding the negotiations, he told me he had an offer to go to another club in the MLS, and he asked me if he could recommend my name to the owners of FC Dallas. And then I came for an interview, and here I am, finishing my third. I just finished my third season with FC Dallas, going to the fourth season, and I'm really happy to be here. It's been a great professional experience, personal and professional experience for me, for my family, and I love being part of the growth of the MLS and the FC Dallas here.
That's great. We're going to talk much more about that. Just before we do, a bunch of other people are saying hi here. You might know some of them, others maybe not.
Oh, I see Fabio Laudizio. What an honor.
Yeah, so we have Jesus here from Rennes, France, Column in Liverpool, Aldo in Madrid. Hello, Aldo.
Hola, Aldo.
Yeah, you mentioned Grande Fabio Laudizio in São Paulo, I presume.
Yeah.
Daniel in Michigan, USA. Another one that you will recognize, Marcelo
very
Ortiz from Neuchâtel. Mamé Paulo, hello, from Santos in Brazil. Tabo in Botswana.
Nice.
Otacílio in Barra Bonita. And we have David Varea in Ecuador. Thanks, everyone that's watching. I hope you're enjoying it. As you may know, this can be very interactive. You know, normally, Andre, the audience have much better questions than me. So I ask them to, if they have questions, don't hesitate, send them through, and we're going to address them.
Perfect.
But so you're talking about now working for Dallas. You have a very cool title there, Chief Soccer Officer. Maybe explain to us what your job's like.
I'm the Chief Soccer Officer is a title that MLS calls each one in my position in each club the CSO, Chief Soccer Officer. So there's one CSO in each club, and we usually represent the club in MLS meetings and calls we are very much involved in discussions with MLS, and they designate one person for the sporting side and the technical side of each club. So that's what I do here is just basically what a sporting director does in any club anywhere in the world. So I oversee the whole operations of football operations from academy to the first team. Obviously, we have our academy director, Chris Hayden, that he's directly involved with the academy. Unfortunately, I'm way more involved with the first team and the second team than the academy, but everything is under the same umbrella. And from player negotiations, contract extensions, and logistics, and just managing. Usually, I like to say that we're more managing people here, and we have from players, coaching staff, medical staff. There's a lot of people involved in behind the scenes of a football team, and the sporting director is coordinating all the processes, the different processes for
For,
scouting, the
for getting
scouts.
your position, how much do you actually need to know about football, about the game? I mean, spot who's the strong player that you need to bring, or who you need to let go, or is it
I,
much?
I think
How
it's
much do
important.
you do
Yeah,
that with the coach, or you don't really need to know much about football?
I think it's important to know the game and to be able. The head coach is someone that I always have a very close relationship. I need to be constant in contact with him, and we need to push each other. He needs to push me, and I need to push him. Uh, for us to always, we cannot be in the comfort zone here, and we always need to be trying to make the team better, make the club better, and improve all things that we believe are necessary. And this and I am that at this moment. It's a key moment of the season for the history of the club, and we're every time we have a coach change, and we are now having this coach change that we should announce very soon. This is very key for the club. Um, so it's I think I just to answer, I think it's important because I'm always in contact with players, with coaches, and I've been in so many different locker rooms, and like you don't need to know in details all, but you need to have a good knowledge of of the game to be able to discuss with, because right now it's more and more, especially here in the MLS, you see the level is getting higher and higher, and people that are working here are with many with international experience. So I think it's important.
Right. So, of everything that you sort of need to do or have to do, what is the thing that you like the most about your job?
Oh, there's a lot of things. I honestly, it's a cliche, but I don't. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility being ahead of a club, regardless of the dimension it is. It's There's a lot of people that really we have our fans, we have that they follow the club, they really are passionate about it. Um, this I learned, especially being in Brazil, how people are crazy about their clubs, and how this drive their lives in different aspects. But so it's a big responsibility, and but honestly, sometimes I really don't feel like a job. It's something I love so much what I do, and it gives me such a big pleasure to be in the position that I am. That sometimes I don't even feel like a job. But what I enjoy the most, and I like negotiating. Just something that I enjoyed coming from the law background. It helps me a lot. But when you need to discuss the roster formation and player development, and who's the next player, and you've seen here, we it happened here in FC Dallas, and some people that are watching us and follow European leagues, they might have seen recently we had players moving from FC Dallas to Europe, playing top leagues. So it is really, for me, I enjoy seeing our players coming from the academy, second team, first team, and then being transferred to Europe, accomplishing their dreams. So it happened here, it happened throughout my career, and I like being part of negotiations of bringing players, transferring players, and building a roster, and the best part is always when we win, and winning games, and especially winning tournaments, competitions. It's such an amazing feeling.
Uh, that's great. That's great. Listen, well, just before I go to the next question, I want to also say that Andreas is watching us in Cyprus. So there's empty mats from Namibia, and Serge Assume in Cairo. Hello, Serge. Good to see you. Andrea, you are working in the US. You worked in Mexico, you worked in Brazil. What are the main differences or and maybe similarities of working in those three countries?
I think first of all, I think Brazil and Mexico, it's football is the number one sport. So people are crazy, completely. Uh, they're completely passionate about their clubs, and and here in the U.S. the soccer or football is not the main sport, but I lived here in the U.S. 23 years ago, 24 years ago, and it's here in Texas, which is a big coincidence. I was an exchange student in my high school year
In
in
Dallas?
Texas, and just 30 minutes from where I live now.
I went to Oklahoma. I think you did a bit better than me.
And I see the growth of soccer here and growth of football in this country, and it's unbelievable. It's amazing to see, and the quality of the game at the MLS, how it's growing, but it's still not the number one sport. So obviously we have American football, baseball, basketball, which are big sports here. But I see every day we have 4,000 kids that are playing in our youth level here, and boys and girls, and I see more and more the interest, especially here in Texas, where we have a lot of Latin communities, and it's a lot of presence of Latin culture here, and obviously football is a very big part of it. So I see it a lot, but it's not the same passion and craziness at some point that we see from fans in Brazil and Mexico. Um, Clubs in Mexico and the U.S. they have owners. In Brazil, we are associations. So as I mentioned when I was talking about my career, uh, we have we have elections every 2 3 years in clubs in Brazil. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of there. It's the stability for coaches, for sporting directors. It's not there.
Much less, yeah, much
Yeah,
less
it's
stable.
much less stable to work in an environment like this because there's a lot of pressure from outside, from media, from fans, and with this change of power happening constantly every 2 3 years, this drives this situation. Which here I feel FC Dallas in the last 13 years we had three head coaches. So this just shows how stable things are here compared to in Brazil. Brazil, the average of a coach in the first division is 5 months, 4 or 5 months.
Yeah,
That's how long they last. So
yeah,
so these are the main ones. But as I said in the beginning, I see MLS just growing in the right direction, and I believe this country here will soon host one of the MLS will be soon the one of the top leagues in the world.
I was gonna ask, do you think that we will ever compete head to head to big European leagues?
It's I think it can. It's obviously the football in England, in Spain, in Italy, in France, in Germany, the top five leagues have been for a much longer time. MLS started in 1996, so it's a league that is very young still.
Yeah,
But as I said, it's every year it's driving more. It's becoming, and what we always discuss here, a league of choice. So we want players to want to come here, agents that want to bring their players here, and we feel this is happening more and more every year. So I get I have contacts in everywhere, every continent, and I get the especially from agents saying that once you bring, they were a couple of 3 4 years ago they weren't, MLS wasn't a main destination for their players, and now they're highly considering. They see also how the American players are being viewed in Europe. The European market looking at the MLS differently now. So
Yes.
like Weston McKennie now in Juventus, that is a player that was from FC Dallas Academy. Christian Pulisic from Chelsea, Giovanni Reina, Borussia Dortmund, Serginho Dest, Barcelona. So many high quality players playing in the top clubs in the world, and so I there was an interview of Mourinho early this year when he was still in Tottenham. He said something that that scouts should be looking more in MLS, something like that. That because the quality of the players, the American players that are coming there, and also young South American players now, and young players from different areas are seeing the MLS as a step to go to big leagues in Europe as well.
Yeah.
So I see that that's a good direction that the MLS is going.
Well, talking about that, I mean, when you think of the MLS, maybe looking at the European leagues and learning from them, or maybe how they grow their players and all that. What about? Do you think there's a lot that Europe can learn from the US model, the salary cap kind of thing, how sport is run? Do you think it will ever import anything like that, or it's very different culturally?
I think it's very different here. There's the American system of in sports with the draft, the conferences, trades. Uh, it's very different from what I was used to and what everywhere else in the football market and football business they do. I think what Europe it's not anything new, but I think when Americans they what they know very well to do is this combine the sporting with the entertainment side of sports. So I think it's what they do this very well. It's not only and I think MLS obviously is not the level of a Super Bowl yet. Hopefully it will, but it's still Super Bowl is something very far. But I think more and more MLS is creating the professional environment. I think here more than any other country, it's a very strict, very professional environment that you have, and what we were talking before about stability of so people that come here, they know that the possibility of having more stability to work is a lot higher than different places.
Well,
So
some clubs, I think we're looking at it, right? And then, but that Super League thing failed. So in terms of importing some of the US, management of the league. Anyway,
but just to add one more thing is what I think, and we have to adapt here on the draft and bringing players from college and trades. So we can trade international spots. So each club has a number of international spots, but I can trade with another club and get an extra international spot. So salary cap, roster limitations. There are so many things and so many rules in MLS that I had to adapt and I had to understand, and still, I never think I know them well, but I don't see them being applicable in different places. I think it works well here.
right. And what about the World Cup 2026? What do you think will be the impacts at club level in the US? So the MLS, for instance.
So the last World Cup in the US led to MLS. So in 1994, with the World Cup in the US, that's how it originally started. The idea of having a strong competition and like the MLS. And I think everywhere there is a World Cup, there's such a great legacy that you need to learn how to lost the word, but just learn how to enjoy or use that opportunity of growth in infrastructure, in just getting people here with the eyes of after Qatar, the eyes of the football community will be towards USA, Mexico, and Canada to build the next World Cup. So Dallas is one of the candidates for to host the World Cup here. I hope it happens. I think we have it's an amazing place here to have to host national teams and to have World Cup games. And I believe, as again, Americans, the U.S., they will know how to explore well and get benefits from hosting a World Cup, and especially MLS. I think will be great. Now you see more and more high-level stadiums, high-level training centers from all MLS clubs. So I think it would just keep growing from with the World Cup and
Great,
expedite this.
great, Andrea. Listen, just so you know, Amanda Ramos is saying hi from Paris, while Kendall Mercury is saying good day to all from Vincent and the Grenadines.
Wow.
So I think we can literally say that we're going all over the world. People are watching this. You touched on this just a few minutes ago, but maybe you can talk a little more. Andrea, so Daniel Horn asks, how was your experience learning the unique rules and regulations at MLS? So you just touched on this briefly, but also, do you have any thoughts on what you think the MLS could change so the league can keep growing? Do you give any
Uh,
advice at
yeah, I
MLS
don't. Not
board
sure if MLS
meetings and this
needs
kind of
to.
thing?
Not sure if MLS needs to change something. I think MLS has been adjusting some and it has created rules to incentivize clubs to bring young players, for example, to be a destination for young players, as I was mentioning earlier. About the rules, and this is something obviously coming here. I knew I had to, as soon as possible, just understand and and get used to it. It's part of my adaptation here. Now, after 3 seasons, I feel much more comfortable than I was in the first year, for sure. I learned in just doing things, and people in the league as well. They help us to understand. If we have any questions, we can always contact them to see can we do this, can we make this this deal, or so. But it's fine, and as I said, I'm not sure if the league would have to change something drastically to keep growing. I think the league has been growing the way it is, so and it continue to grow. We'll have the 28th club next season, Charlotte FC, and then 2023 we'll have St. Louis as the 29th club, and we'll probably soon have the 30th club, which should be announced in the next year.
Cool. Andrea, so you've been sort of working with football for about 10 years now, right? And so I think there's a lot in front of you still, but I mean, you had some great accomplishments so far. Do you have a favorite one? What would you say is your greatest achievements in your professional life so far?
Uh, so if you count only clubs, it's uh, 11 years. But if you count the time as a sports lawyer as well, you can, yeah, and then you can add another 4 or 5. But obviously, if you think about titles, winning, it's the Libertadores, and it was the biggest achievement, and just it was the third time Gremio won Libertadores. Just being in the Club World Cup, it's amazing feeling. Just being involved and playing, being a match against Real Madrid for whoever works in sports is just great. But I think there's so many other things that what I like to one thing that I like to do, and working in Santos, Gremio, and now FC Dallas. FC Dallas is known as the best academy in the U.S. Gremio and Santos are two of the top academies in Brazil that have developed the best players the world that has seen. So this, as I was mentioning some a few questions ago, that what I like really to, I believe in this pathway from players coming from very young age, and this pathway until the first team. So to solidify more and more the pathway for the players to accomplish their dreams and reach the first team. And I think uh, and throughout my career in clubs, in Santos, we won twice the Copa São Paulo, which is one of the most important youth tournaments in Brazil. We had so many players coming from that. We in 2014, I remember we had more than 60% of the players from Santos Academy, which is amazing. We in Gremio, there's so many players. Mateus Henrique, that is now in Sassuolo, Arthur, that is now in Juventus, and so many, Pepe, that is now in Porto, Everton, players that went through this process. They and academy, second team, first team, and here in FC Dallas the same. Brian Reynolds, who is now in Roma, Tanner Tasman in Venezia, Ricardo Pepe, that is now our striker in the first team, and Justin Che, Brenda Cervania, Cirillo, Jesus Ferreira. We have so many players here, young ones, Paxton, that that came through this process. And obviously, I wasn't part here in FC Dallas since the beginning, but just seeing their when they achieve this highest level, and for me, it's what makes me feel more happy, not happy, but it just makes me feel that I'm doing my job, just helping the players reach their goals, and they are giving back to the club with the sporting benefits, just having winning games, winning leagues, and also and then seeing their accomplish their dreams when they go to Europe.
That's great. You mentioned that's one part of the job that you really like is negotiations. Um, you obviously participated in very many players transfers. So, do you have any interesting story that you can share about any negotiation that maybe you think was going to happen, something totally different happened, or anything that you can share?
Oof, there was so many. There are many stories. I don't know if I can share all of them, just or I'll try to choose one. But um, there, like I negotiated players with clubs in China, in Middle East, in Europe, South America, North America. So I have had many. So from Neymar to Barcelona, Arthur to Barcelona, and Montillo to China when I was in Santos, and um, Pedro Rocha to Spartak Moscow. So it's always there are some negotiations that sometimes you believe this is not going to happen, and it happens, and others that you're like, this is.
And any big cultural shock, for instance, when you're negotiating with
Yeah, you
China
need. I
or,
think when you're
or
negotiating with, depending where you're negotiating with a certain market, you got to kind of understand what how usually they deal with this. Sometimes you get an offer that I recently got an offer from a club that 2 days later they doubled the offer. So you need to understand when they're playing the game, and but it's always challenging, and it's very sometimes very stressful. But when the deal is done, it's like just a guy like Neymar was a big one when we were dealing with Barcelona and Real Madrid at the same time, and two teams fighting for the same player. And Arthur, we had agreed, for example, with Barcelona to let him go. We wanted him to finish the season with Gremio in 2018, and he would be transferred in the winter transfer window in January. And after a month or so, Barcelona came back to us and said, "No, we don't want to. We want to avoid bringing players that are not in the European market already in the winter, in mid-season. We prefer having them for pre-season. So we had to anticipate. We had to renegotiate some things in the deal and allow Arthur to be transferred in the summer of 2018 to Barcelona. So those things can happen.
Right. And so, what advice would you give to someone now that's studying to work in sports, or just would very much like to have a similar type of job than yours? I'm sure that you get calls and people asking you for advice all the time. Is there one particular one that you always give?
Yeah, what I usually tell and what helped me is the moment back there when I was in law school and I had this dream to work in the sports industry. That's what I wanted. I started to get involved in just like what I work in sport does, and at that time you didn't exist.
Now we
So
do.
yeah, exactly. So I was trying to attend to seminars, congresses about sports law, sports management, get to know people, create a networking. I think it's really important. And I always had in mind to do something like the FIFA Master or other masters that are out there that are very good as well, and opens you up opportunity to meet people that are working in the industry. So I always try to get involved in be a member of association, sports law association, or those kind of things that help me to meet people and look for opportunities, and and that's how. And then after the law school and starting working with sports law, I had the chance to do the master, and it really opened the doors to meet a lot of people and how I could start my career in clubs.
Right. And I think you have an unusual background, at least in Brazil, for the type of role that you have. So I'd like to ask you, what's the importance of formal education for someone that wants to do the type of job that you do?
It's not very unusual. I can Rui Costa, the sporting director of São Paulo FC right now. He's a lawyer, and now he's the sporting director. Now he was in Gremio, he was Chapecoense, Atlético Paranaense, Mineiro. Now he's in
No, no,
São
no,
Paulo.
sorry, I didn't mean as a lawyer. In fact, lawyers a great career in sports. Many of the general secretaries or even presidents of federations, they come with a law background. So that's one definitely a winner, I think. Was more also talking about the specific formal education in sports management, for instance.
But what I didn't understand the question of it's unusual to
No, no, I for
lawyer
instance,
merging to
for as you know, especially in Brazil, um, you pointed out it's very political. Sometimes you know who's running the club and who's taking care of football there. Now more and more you have some professionals doing that, but they didn't have the same path that you did of taking a year off to going to Europe and doing that kind of study. And my question is, as sport is evolving, what is the importance of that type of formal education?
okay. I think for me was key in my career to I when I decided I wanted to make this career shift and start working in sports management. I felt that I needed to let me put on hold my career as a lawyer, not completely abandoned, but I want to study, and I was already obviously following the FIFA Master and other masters that I was interested in doing. But I thought that that would be important for me to have a general view of the industry before I was sure what I wanted to do. So I really felt that sports management, and especially works in clubs, that's what I wanted. So once I did the masters, that was clear to me that was the right decision. And so, and from there, with the people I met, I could get the opportunity to, because I knew it would be important for my CV to have uh, uh, a, a a job at a club. So I had the opportunity to go to Mexico and had and be part of a club that really, from that point on, I felt that other clubs were seeing me different. So I already experienced as a sports lawyer, and I already had an experience working in management of club. And then Traffic Sports was a company that was pretty much in different areas with a lot of, I had contact with clubs all the time. And the club, the company used to own as well. So those were things that I think that made sense, and I think a formal education like that uh, at least for me was very important.
Cool. By the way, what's the size of the club there? So for people that's thinking of working for a club at MLS, maybe what's the size of FC Dallas and maybe the average size of a club in terms of number of employees?
We have here in FC Dallas around 140 employees here, uh, and
Many,
I'm
I
not sure
suppose,
about the other ones.
doing the job on the pitch, no?
No, this is general. So from all the different areas, obviously, and I have in my in the department that I'm the head here is we have uh, we have, as I said, the medical staff, we have the coaching staff, uh, performance performance staff, players. Players in MLS are not employed by the clubs; they're employed by MLS.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
So it's a little bit different. But the second team players, they are employed by FC Dallas. So
What
and I
about
help with
in
structuring first team, second team, academy, so coaches in different. So
what about more in this sort of management sides? For instance, maybe a team sort of helping you as you're helping Felipe at Santos, maybe marketing, commercial. What's the size of an average club at the MLS?
just in my area, or
Your area, commercial, s-
ah,
marketing,
mm, tough one.
you know.
I would say 80,
Okay.
but that's I know the general number from the club, but just to some of those areas, I would say around that.
All right. Andre, we're very close to the hour mark. I promised that I was going to let you go in 1 hour. I know that you're busy and you have things to do, but if you allow me, there just a couple of other questions here that maybe I can bring up, and then you can address them quickly. One from Kendall Mercury and another from Tabo. Uh, so can I presume I hope I'm saying that name right, Kendall Mercury. From the different places you have worked, where would you say would be a good place for young coaches to look for internships?
I think all those places that I work, there are opportunities for coaches to here in the U.S., in Brazil, in Mexico. I know there are always opportunities for coaches internship. Uh, I don't see in MLS very often, uh, but there are many other opportunities with amateur clubs, with other clubs here in the U.S. But I see in Brazil, I saw many times coaches that would just go to observe for a period of time the the first team coach or academy coach is working. I think you can find that in everywhere.
Cool. Last one from Tabo Styles, Shunogang. What are your views on the commercial transition that Brazil is making now? How do you think it's going to affect player development process and ultimately progression of Brazilian to other professional leagues? Presume that he may be mentioning about clubs possibly turning
Yeah,
into companies.
yeah. If that's, I think it's such a João, you know well how long this discussion has been in Brazil about clubs turning to companies, and it depends on who's managing still, the people that will make the difference, how professional you can make a club, especially in Brazil. It's if the clubs keep being, you see so many clubs with such an amazing history and that are struggling really bad right now, and if you don't change, it's not changing from association to company that's going to suddenly the club is going to be successful or is going to be make profit. There's so much more that you need to it's in in the structure of the country, of how the football has been run for such a long time, that it needs a much deeper discussion, a much deeper change than simply that. If that's the question you're making.
Yeah. Well, just before we go, there's one last one quickly by David Varel. When in the season do you do budget planning for international transfers? Does the MLS have some policies about that?
We usually plan the budget for we have the salary cap. We have the budget that every club has the same. That's the salary cap, how much we can spend there. I'm not gonna go through the exceptions that we have here, the designated players, the TAM players, and all those MLS rules. But we already know what's gonna be the budget 2023, 2024, 25 until 2027. That's agreed in the CBA with the MLS and the players union, and how much we'll be able to spend. This is obviously in a club decision on how much we'll spend on those exceptions that I was mentioning. And this is probably we start discussing this usually depending on the year. This year we didn't have a good season, and so we started earlier to plan 2022 and the changes we want to make in the roster. Uh, but usually around August, September, I start focusing more on players that we want to sign, and and the changes we want to make. Uh, and this is an ongoing thing until we make it happen.
All right. Um, so that's Kendall is saying thank you. Listen, I think we covered everything, Andre. I want to give also a shout out to José Luis, Grande Zé, watching us in Santos. I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching us all the way to the end. So if you're still here, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. We'll bring continue to bring super cool people in the next ones as well. Andre, I want to thank you so much for doing this. It was nice to learn more about your career. What are the challenges that someone in your position face? And yeah, you could just to keep learning. So I'll be following you wherever you go.
Thank you, João. Thank you for inviting me. It was great to spend this hour with you and just interact with the people that follow I work in sports. So anytime, it's great to help you and wish you all the best with this project, which is it's great.
Thank you, Andre. Just stay there another second until we're out. Bye bye, everyone. See you soon.